our program, including homeschool options, visit ileadsantaclarita.org. iLead Schools, free to think, inspired to lead.
Traffic brought to you by Frontier Toyota. Frontier Toyota reminds you to drive safely. Shop from home at frontiertoyota.com or visit their showroom on Valencia and Creekside. See their all-new, hot and exciting 2020 Toyota Camry. Frontier Toyota, the Camry Kings.
Save water and save money. SCV Water wants to help you find your fit and take advantage of conservation rebate programs that will help you save. Water your landscape more efficiently. Replace your lawn with water-wise plants. Conduct free in-home water surveys. Cover your swimming pool and more. Find the programs that fit your needs and start saving today. Visit conserve.yourscvwater.com to learn more.
That's conserve.yourscvwater.com.
The census is a special time when we count every single person in the country.
Do kids and babies count too?
Of course. Counting everyone in your home helps support your neighborhood by funding schools, hospitals, and more. So complete the census by calling, going online, or returning your form by mail. It's totally private.
Visit 2020census.gov and
make your family count!
Brought to you by Carnegie Corporation of New York and the Ad Council.
The following is sponsored programming and does not necessarily reflect the views or opinions of KHTS or its ownership.
Good morning, Santa Clarita. Happy Friday, my friends. Welcome in. We're so glad to have you back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 AM and 98.1 FM. This is SCVI Charter Schools, Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson, and today is a very special day, and for so many reasons. First and foremost, because you're here, and I'm here, and we've got each other, and we're gonna be okay. What more do we need? But that's not all. Today's a special day because it's Friday the 13th. Is that bad luck for you? It doesn't have to be. Today is and will be the day that you make it. So let's decide together right now that today is going to be a great day. Don't think it's possible? Well, it is. It is that simple. Don't believe me? Just come hang out with me for a day or two. You'll see. And what else? Well, today's a holiday, and if you know me, then you know that every day is a holiday, and we love celebrating. Today is actually National Good Samaritan Day. So let's make it a special day by making today special for someone else. That's right. The greatest way to pick yourself up is by picking up someone else. More on that at the end of the hour. But in a huge way, today is special because we've got some pretty amazing people in studio. In fact, if you're on the KHTS Facebook Live feed, did you know that you could not only listen to our radio station, you can watch it on Facebook Live, on KHTS Radio on Facebook. Watch the live feed. Our studio is pretty packed here, and it's packed with some rock star scientists right now. So let's get to it. I'm joined today by quite a group. In fact, it's going to take me a few minutes to be able to get into actually who all of my guests are. But rest assured, you're in for a treat. Today I have in studio Sam, Solomon, Tina, Elizabeth, and Kathleen. Hello, good morning, everybody.
Hi.
I'd like to start with you, Kathleen, just to help provide context to our listeners. Kathleen Fredette is Director of STEAM Initiatives. What a cool title. Director of STEAM Initiatives with SCVI and iLead Schools. Prior to her work with iLead, she specialized in middle school gifted math and science, remedial math, and STEM instruction. Kathleen has spent most of her career on the forefront of the fields of science and engineering in education. Check this out. She's an airborne astronomy ambassador for NASA Sophia, a NASA Endeavor Leadership Distinction Award recipient, a Women in Aerospace National Award recipient, a Space Foundation teacher liaison, an educational advisor to the board at the Southern California Soaring Academy, and a member of the board of the National Science Teacher Association Advisory Board and the Aerospace and Dream Up Advisory Board. She holds a master's in STEM education as a graduate of the NASA Endeavor program at Adams State College. She holds a BA in Biblical Studies and Communications from Wheaton College, and on top of that, she recently received her private pilot rating in glider planes. When she's not piloting glider planes or innovating STEAM initiatives, Kathleen loves scuba diving, reading, and tinkering in her garden. Whew. Kathleen, that's quite a resume. Thank you for joining us. Good morning.
That is completely way too much right there.
Tell me some of it that's wrong. Oh, it's all spot on, isn't it, Kathleen? Yeah, she blushes. Maybe on a future show we'll have to talk scuba diving. I love me some scuba, but today we're here to talk Dream Up. I know I've mentioned Dream Up many times on shows before as we've had different events going on, but for those of our listeners who aren't completely aware of the absolutely groundbreaking work that you and your students who are here in the studio with us have accomplished this week, can you tell us a little bit about what Dream Up is? What is it? How did it get started? What's it all about? What is this program?
Yeah, so Dream Up to Space is one of our aerospace missions in iLead Student Aerospace Projects. And the whole goal of this project is for kids to understand why does an astronaut float, to understand how the scientific process works, experimentation, and then to design an experiment that could be run on the International Space Station. So we have some really large driving questions. We want kids to be excited and inspired and have a blast doing real science. We don't want to wait until the kids get older. We want to say, you have the opportunity to actually have an idea and have it run on space stations. So across all the sites that want to participate, we run this project. It's about a 6-week project, and the kids learn some really solid science content depending on their grade. We've run this project as low as 4th and 5th grade, all the way up to 12th grade. So the project can morph for the standards according to the grade that's using it. We found it to be super inspiring. We had over 200 submissions of student-authored experiments last year, and from that, we whittled it down, and we had 3 experiments that were selected. Those ideas were then put into action to actually be sent to the International Space Station, and that happened just last week.
That is so exciting. So you've got kids everywhere from 9 years old to seniors in high school writing their own experiments. They're designing experiments, coming up with ideas on their own, all of them with the idea that they could be conducted on the International Space Station. That is super exciting. And then we whittled it down to, like you said, 3 experiments, and those 3 experiments were chosen. Can you explain a little bit about what happened just this last week?
Yeah, I can. I want to sidestep really quickly and let you know that when we say Dream Up, it's a partnership with a company called Dream Up, which is a sister company of NanoRacks. NanoRacks is our payload integrator to International Space Station. So Dream Up
That's a mouthful. They're
it
kind of
is.
like intergalactic FedEx. is
Right,
what
it
they
makes
are,
you,
right?
they are exactly that. Well done on tooling that down. So it's NanoRacks' sister company, Dream Up, that is their educational outreach, and they make space-based programs available to schools. So we partnered with them, which gave us a blank canvas to use our project-based learning mojo to create this project that has really knocked it out of the park. So that being said, I want to make sure that Dream Up and NanoRacks are acknowledged. We love them. We're so grateful for them. And so what ended up happening is last year 3 projects were selected, 3 experiments, and then we moved into something called launch teams. And so the goal was, rather than have an experiment be only held by the 3 or 4 kids that created it, to actually create a site team where they would have more kids have an opportunity to be involved. Those 3 launch teams then had the opportunity to present their idea at Kennedy Space Center and then to watch their experiment launch to International Space Station on SpaceX 20.
Wow. So you had smaller groups of kids that designed and developed and wrote experiments like completely to NASA specifications and all that good stuff. But then once teams were actually selected to fly on Elon Musk's taxi cab, the SpaceX, then you had other kids kind of join that team as part of the launch team, and they all had different responsibilities.
That's really our goal, because we've
great.
run this project now. This is the 4th year, right? Is that right, Sarah? 4th year. We're going on 5. We're always trying to make it better. So how can we impact more kids, more parents, the community at large, and make this more of a, like, when your team goes to CIF, it's like everyone's on it. So if our team's going to International Space Station, how can we include more people on this? So that's the reason we moved to this idea of launch teams. So one of the kids that's here with us, Solomon, he wasn't on the original experiment.
Oh, wow.
And he was folded into this afterwards. Isn't that right, Solomon? Yeah, so you can talk about that. So we're happy about moving this into involving more kids. And then this year, we really knocked it out of the park. We've had amazing parents involved in this project, which just makes my heart super happy.
So cool. I followed you guys on social media, and it was a really neat experience to follow, to watch the entire team, from parents to experiment designers, launch teams, yourself, and some of the other leaders in our organization. Now, we're going to get to your current scientists that we have in studio in just a second, but would you give us a brief overview of some of the other experiments that have been performed on the space station on behalf of our kids?
So we've already had oxidation, fancy word for rust. And we brought that experiment back. We did what's called post-flight analysis, another more, lingo, where we actually took some kids to NASA Glenn, and we got to use all their highfalutin equipment that I hadn't even never had my eyes on before, to really look at what did rust look like as it grew in microgravity, and it was amazing. We did yeast to see the impact of that. We also were connected to Death Wish Coffee, and we sent Death Wish Coffee up because it turns out black coffee kills an organism that causes plaque in our mouth, and so we were checking to see if that happened on station too. One thing I'll add is that I'm really proud about this project is we've really dialed in helping the kids to get connected to experts.
Right.
Because what we find is I, myself, and the kids, but I'll even say all the facilitators, we often don't have the expertise that we need. So example, for one of our projects, the one that is from SCVI Lower, we found through Google Scholar, and we just emailed a bunch of scholars and said, who can help about figuring out some information about algae. Well, we got back 3 people. Absolutely not going to happen. Nope, you can't send it to station. Nope, it's not going to work. Nope, it's not going to work. The 4th guy said, I don't think it's going to work, but hang on. And then about, later on that night, he sent us a whole spec sheet and said, I think this will work. And so he's from Hartnell College, and now we're connected to him, and he's our expert. I didn't have any of that. Shauna Brown, the facilitator, didn't. The parents didn't. But that expert did. He's an expert on that particular algae. And now he's ours.
Google is such a great connector. And it's important to point out for our listeners, what you're saying, it's not just, kids developing their homework and launching it into space. They are actually working directly with NASA to help develop the research that we're going to need to eventually colonize the moon and Mars. This is research that humans need done, and they're conducting it. This is so amazing. And I love that we've got naysayers in the science community saying, nope, can't happen, and our kids are like, no, we're going to do it.
Well, it's an interesting thing. There's this phrase called hedonistic adaptation. It sounds horrible, but really what it means is that, we have something really awesome happen in our lives, and we're like, this is the greatest thing ever, and everyone's really excited. And then we do it again, and we're still excited, but we're not quite as excited as that first time. And so it's interesting to me that it's kind of like, well, yeah, at iLead we send stuff to space station, when in reality, in the history of ever, we're such a small fraction. And then dial that down even more, the amount of kids that have had lab work done on the station is almost non-existent.
Right.
And so I think we just know this is how we roll, but it is really a huge honor to be part of this.
Yeah. One of the things that I noticed, one of the things that really struck me when I first started working with iLead 8 or 9 years ago is, I always worked really hard as a teacher to prepare my students for when they went into the real world. But our kids at iLead have, and I always kind of say tongue-in-cheek, they have that audacity to think that they're already living in the real world and that they can already participate in it. Clearly, this is an amazing example of our learners not just participating in the real world, but taking the reins, taking that leadership, and pushing the limits of what the real world actually is. So let's get to them. Let's talk to these amazing scientists that you brought with you. I want to introduce Sam Diem and Solomon Press. Welcome in. Good to have you guys.
Hi.
So, first of all, will you please tell us a little bit about yourselves? What schools do you attend? Because I know you guys go to different schools. And how old are you? What grades are you in?
I go to iLead Agua Dulce, and I'm in 7th grade, and I'm 13.
Okay, and Sam, you've gone to iLead Agua Dulce for the last couple of years, but you've been with the iLead organization for longer than that, isn't that right?
Yes, I've been with iLead since kindergarten.
Oh wow, cool. So thanks for coming in. And Solomon, how long have you been with iLead and SCVI? What grade are you in?
This is my second year. I'm 10 and I'm in 5th grade.
Okay, fantastic. So, I want to ask you guys to tell us a little bit about your experiments, okay? So, Sam, you were on the initial writing team and development team. Tell us about the experiment that you developed. What was your driving question? What was it that you guys wanted to figure out? What's your experiment all about?
So my experiment is we're sending aloe vera seeds to the International Space Station because we did research and we found that one of the main problems astronauts have in space is the air quality, because the longer the air is there, it just recirculates because everyone's breathing it in and out, and there's actually some chemicals in the walls and stuff. And so the aloe vera plants could, they help reduce the amount of benzene, formaldehyde, and triclopamine from the air. And so those are some of the chemicals that they have problems with. So that's why we chose that plant.
Wow, that's amazing. There's a lot of us kind of in the studio giggling a little bit. You said quite a mouthful. Tell us again, what grade are you in, Sam?
I'm in 7th grade.
You're in 7th grade, and you're figuring out how to use natural substances, specifically aloe, to scrub the air, to keep the air cleaner and more healthy for astronauts in space. Fantastic. So specifically, was your experiment about whether or not that system of air purification works in space, or is it whether or not we can grow aloe in space?
So our original experiment was will microgravity affect the germination of aloe vera seeds?
Okay,
but
the
the mix stick, that's where all of the experiments are. It's called a mix stick. It's about the size of an expo marker. And so it's only going up to space for around 30 days, and that seems like a lot of time, but aloe vera can take 3 to 4 months to grow properly, so that's why we can't germinate it in space. So instead we're going to see if we can send the seeds to the International Space Station, bring them back down, and then grow them with a controlled group to see if they grow at the same rate or...
Okay, so kind of get the germination process started.
Yes.
You don't actually have enough time in space to go kind of start to end. Okay, interesting shift. Great flexibility. That's kind of what scientists have to do. Now, Solomon, we've got just a couple minutes before we break, but I want to hear about the experiment that you were working on. You joined a little bit later as part of the launch team. Mm-hmm. What was the experiment that you worked on?
Well, ours, the current one that went up to space?
Yeah.
Okay, so ours was Pyropia perforata.
What?
Pyropia perforata.
And what's that all about?
Well, we want to see if it can grow in microgravity.
So what is Pyropia perforata?
It's a kind of algae.
Oh, that's the one that Miss Fredette was talking about, the algae. You want to see if it'll grow in microgravity?
Yeah, because astronauts, they have to have this big suit to help them with oxygen, and if it can grow in microgravity, it could help them with... We want to see if it can produce oxygen.
Okay, so in a way, a little bit similar to Sam's experiment,
Yeah.
working on the purity and cleanliness of the air available to our astronauts in space. Okay, fantastic. So, so you joined the team a little bit later. What was your role in the launch team?
Well, my role was to be the talker, kind of explain it to everybody.
Yeah.
And for the presentation, I had speech for it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Fantastic. So, so your job was kind of be the spokesperson, and that's sounds like a really good job for you. I do want to get a little bit deeper into that. We'll go into that in the next break. Unfortunately, we do have to break for a commercial, but we're going to go deep. I want to get deeper into these projects, talk to you about your experience, where your ideas came from, and everything all about what you guys did last week. I also want to talk to Sam and Solomon's parents, because I'm sure it was a pretty surreal experience for them too. But like I said, we do have to take a quick commercial break. Please stick around. When we come back, we will continue this conversation with Sam and Solomon and the rest of their crew here, and we'll talk all about their experience. So stay tuned. This is SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson, on KHTS, your hometown station.
At iLead Agua Dulce, we believe the most important thing a child can learn in school is who they are. Life's real tests are never standardized, which is why we've developed an individual-based curriculum that values exploration, cooperation, and creativity. As our learners grow, so do we. Our tuition-free charter school is currently enrolling grades TK through 7th and adding 8th grade in 2020. Your young learner will be immersed in a unique environment where possibility and self-discovery are at the core of every experience. The Agua Dulce campus features beautiful indoor and outdoor spaces for hands-on inspiration, including a robotics lab, a garden bed, a greenhouse, and a technology-based exploratorium. ILEAD Agua Dulce is conveniently located on the east side of the Santa Clarita Valley, just off the 14 freeway. Check out our homeschool options too. To schedule a campus tour or learn more about our programs, visit ileadaguadulce.org. We're enrolling now. ILEAD Schools. Free to think, inspired to lead.
Traffic brought to you by Frontier Toyota. Frontier Toyota reminds you to drive safely. Shop from home at frontiertoyota.com or visit their showroom on Valencia and Creekside. See their all-new hot and exciting 2020 Toyota Camry. Frontier Toyota, the Camry Kings.
Save water and save money. SCV Water wants to help you find your fit and take advantage of conservation rebate programs that will help you save. Water your landscape more efficiently. Replace your lawn with water-wise plants. Conduct free in-home water surveys. Cover your swimming pool and more. Find the programs that fit your needs and start saving today. Visit conserve.yourscvwater.com to learn more.
That's conserve.yourscvwater.com.
Do you suffer from peripheral neuropathy in your hands or feet? One drug after another, continuing numbness, tingling, burning pain, balance problems, decreased quality of life? Are you experimenting with drugs like Lyrica, Neurontin, Gabapentin, Cymbalta with limited success and your doctor telling you just have to live with it? My name is Dr. Thomas Pilecki, DC, host of Get Better with Dr. Pilecki and founder of Neuropathy Dr. X. I'm here to tell you that there is now a non-invasive natural solution to your neuropathy right here in Santa Clarita. A solution that addresses the underlying causes, and we're proud to say that we have an 87 to 97% success rate with neuropathy sufferers in getting their lives back. I'd like to invite you to our next seminar, when we'll teach you how to reverse this deadly condition that affects over 50 million Americans today. To reserve your spot now, call 753-9340. This is a free seminar, but seating is limited, so call 753-9340 now.
Your hometown station.
KHTS is the only station I listen to.
98.1 FM and AM 1220.
Listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and 98.1 FM. I'm Matt Watson, and you're listening to SCVI Charter School's Eye on the Valley. This just in, we had some breaking news come in over the break. LAUSD is, Los Angeles Unified School District, is apparently announcing that beginning Monday, they are closing all school sites. And so they are executing their plan for virtual learning. Stay tuned for more on that. LAUSD School District is closing their campuses starting Monday. Local school districts, William S. Hart School District and the other local elementary school districts, are currently evaluating their plans, and following the news, they will be making decisions and any announcements that they need to make soon. It is important to point out to our listeners, they know that we come to you from SCVI Charter School and ILEAD's network of schools. We actually met with all of our classroom instructional staff yesterday to train them on what our virtual rollout plan would look like. And all of our staff is prepared and ready to continue learning virtually with our learners so that all these amazing projects can continue moving forward. Our learners can continue to interact with their facilitators and their classmates as needed. But once again, no decision has been made. We're continuing to, as the local school districts are, monitor the situation. We're also staying in close contact with the Center for Disease Control and other local, county, and state officials. So once again, Los Angeles Unified School District closing campuses effective Monday. Local school districts still monitoring the situation and should have decisions here very soon. But we're talking space today. Space exploration and the colonization of the moon and Mars. You guys, this is closer than you think. I know with everything going on, it seems like we're moving backwards a couple of thousand years, but we're actually moving forward so quickly. This is all a huge part of the globalization and kind of the shrinking of the world. And with the shrinking of the world, we're looking to the skies. And I've got a couple of learners here in studio. It's predicted that in their lifetimes, we will be colonizing either the moon or Mars or both. But this is not just science fiction. Like I said, this is real. This is now. This is something that NASA scientists are working on today. Literally today, NASA scientists are conducting experiments that will help us better understand long-term space travel, exploration, and colonization. Experiments that were designed, written, and put together, packaged, and sent to the space station by my in-studio guests today, Sam Diem and Solomon Press. Now, they aren't working alone. As we said before the break, they had team members. Can you guys share maybe, do you guys know all of the members that were on your team? Can we give them credit? Who else were you working with, Sam?
I had a pretty big team because there were actually 2 aloe vera teams, and so we got kind of smushed into one aloe vera team.
Okay.
So there's the Agua Dulce kids and the Lancaster kids.
Oh, so kids from I Lead Lancaster were also working with you guys. That's so cool. What a great synergy. Fantastic. So you have a lot of people on your team. Same as you, huh, Solomon? How many people were on your team?
We have like 9. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. So you guys weren't working alone, okay? Let's see. Your experiment started with that question, the germination of aloe vera, or in Solomon, your case, it's the effect of that algae, and will it continue to scrub the air? Is that the idea? Clean the air?
Well, let me just make a little comment really quickly.
Please.
Because you talked about how we're really impacting science. And so I think what's important to understand is that whenever there's a piece of science, you're actually just putting it on the top of what other people have done. And so really when we talk about on the shoulders of giants, that's really what we're talking about, except that it's not just giant people, it's everyday people, it's citizen scientists, it's not just NASA, it's privatized space as well. It's people like us doing a little piece. And so while we might not come up with something groundbreaking, we might be coming up with one piece that will add another little piece to the puzzle. And so while we might not figure out, can we actually now use this particular kind of algae to create more oxygen, or can we do this? What we can say is, we found out this from doing this experiment. And so that's really a good distinction to make. And in fact, the team that first sent up the rust, we had that conversation with a chemist at NASA Glenn, because the students kind of were like, gosh, our experiment is kind of low level. It's just, how will this thing rust in space? And they were a little bit embarrassed actually from it. Wow. And he's the one that said exactly what I just said to you. Oh no, every piece is added to that puzzle. And so that's what we're doing, is we're just adding another little piece. It's not going to be no one's ever done this before, because they have, but it's another piece added to it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Toward the end of the show, we'll talk a little bit more about some of the other aerospace projects. But I was talking to some of your 8th graders who were saying, back in the time of the Wright brothers, there were hundreds of people all over the world that were kind of perfecting this idea of flight, and everybody was adding their little tweak. The little tweak that the Wright brothers happened to add was this notion of a tail rudder, and that's what actually got them to be able to control their craft once they got off the ground. And boom, it was this huge leap forward all of a sudden. They're the ones that get the recognition. But there's that group of people that came before them that made this little tweak, and the group that came before them that made this little tweak. And so we all are kind of part of this succession of geniuses and giants moving this process forward.
Well, and what happens to someone like, will our young people end up being in aerospace or aviation? I don't know. But what you now know for sure is that you have the capability to do this. And if you can do this now, I don't know where you're going to end up. But whatever you do, you know now that you have the ability to do something that's actually pretty profound in whatever context you have. And I think maybe that's the bigger lesson in all of these things, is that everything that we do has impact in our world, for good or bad.
And that is phenomenal. But we're not done yet. Let's get back to the crux of those experiments. Because, Sam, Solomon, your teams have conducted the experiments here on Earth, right? You've done your control group?
Yes, we have started, we've started our control group, but we're not going to begin growing it until the seeds come back from the ISS so we can grow them at the same time.
So you want to start them at the same time. So you're actually going to be looking at those things at the same time. So you've launched your experiments, and I want to kind of put an image in our listeners' mind a little bit. You gave the great image. The confinement of your experiments is limited to something about the size of an expo marker, of a magic marker or a whiteboard marker, if you will, where you guys have your substances in there, and you have the opportunity. It's called a mix stick because you have the opportunity to mix a couple of substances. Are you guys mixing anything? Do you have water in there with your aloe vera?
No, we are not mixing anything.
Okay, what about you, Solomon? Do you guys have anything in there with your algae?
We have a growth media that helps the algae grow.
Okay.
And we also have something called
Is it formalin?
yeah, formalin. It's kind of alcohol that kills it, because we only want to see how much it can grow in a certain amount of time. So once astronauts are done with the experiment up in space, they're going to kill it.
So that is a super important point. And no, it's not a tragic thing that they're going to kill it. What we need to do is we need to be able to control the experiment, so we need to see how much that algae actually grows in space.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes back from space, it's going to spend some time there in Florida, and then it's going to come back. It's going to spend some time, in our shipping container with NanoRacks, and so we want to make sure that it doesn't continue to grow, and we get these false reports, these false results, right? So you got to kill it before they send it back down.
Yeah.
Right. So we got an email saying everything is started. It was started by this, and I'm sad that Luca, I don't know exactly the astronaut's name, and it was started at this exact time, which starts our clock, which says 24 hours after that, we start our ground truth experiments. So we do it to the moment, if we can, 24 hours later from the moment that it started up in space.
Okay.
Again, just really trying to control all the variables.
Okay. So your stuff's in space now. It's going to come back, and then you're going to measure your results. What do you do once you get your results? Do you publish those? Do you have to send them back to NASA?
Well, you can go first.
Okay. I believe one of the things that we can do is we can create kind of like, we have a website, so we can create kind of like a little, I think we called it a blog thing about all of our results, and so, yeah, we can share our results and stuff.
So I want to add that because our teams, you can talk about the space garden that you guys are going to do, but I also want to say that we have the kids that are doing the Priopia, they're in 5th and 6th grade. Mm-hmm. And so what we're going to plan on doing with that is trying to find some older learners who would like to fold into this part of what we call post-flight analysis. Mm-hmm. So not because you don't have the wherewithal, but if we can bring some older learners in to do some of the post-flight analysis with our experts and then leverage that into writing a paper, our goal, we don't know if this will happen, is to get that paper published, and we would have every kid's name on it, whether or not it's a high school student. And so how are we doing this again? We're trying again to just widen that reach of the effect of this one project by bringing other learners in that are going to have more energy and some skills, maybe the writing skills to actually get a science paper published at a high school and a middle school level.
Talk about authentic learning. This is so exciting. Now, I understand that you guys went back to Florida. You went to Cape Canaveral to watch the launch. Mm-hmm. You weren't just there as spectators, from what I hear, though. What other kinds of things did you do? What were you guys doing while you were in Florida?
We did a presentation at Kennedy Space Center about our projects.
Wow.
So we talked about, sorry.
No, I said same. You can keep on. Well, yeah, we did the same thing. So we both did like a presentation in front of small crowd, kind of big.
Were you intimidated?
No.
You are such an eloquent speaker. I bet you weren't. Good job. So you gave a presentation. You talked all about your experiment?
Mm-hmm. And then we kind of like broke up after that, and then we had to meet back at that spot. No, wait.
Then you got to set up.
Yeah, we had to set up again. And then we had to we had a competition to see how many people we could get to talk about our experiment. And my group actually won.
Nice.
I
Good
remember
job.
there being a competition.
That might just have been the SCVI group.
Yeah.
So, Sam, can you explain your science poster a little bit and
Yeah.
what that looked like?
So our science poster basically has all of our information from our proposal on it, and it has some images of our experiment in the mix stick and what that looks like. And so yeah, we stood in front of the poster and we kind of just talked to people in the kind of museum thing. I think it was a museum-ish thing. So yeah, we
At
kind
Kennedy
of
Space Center there, kind of a big deal,
we talked to people who were walking by about our experiment, and they would ask us questions and stuff. So it was really fun.
And I don't know if you know this, but on the Space Station Explorer website, the ISS 360 website, we should probably put that in the notes. I don't know if you know this, but they just published a blog and the picture of your team in front of your science poster. And there's Julia from NanoRacks and Lauren from Dream Up.
Oh, I remember that.
That's actually on their website. It went up yesterday. They did
cool.
a blog on our kids and our project. And it's running one of our videos too.
That is so cool. That is so exciting. And so then after your presentation, you guys actually, did you go out? Because I've been there, like where the bleachers are, and you watched your experiments launch.
Yeah, it was really cool.
That is so exciting. You know, I got to that point several years back. Kathleen will remember. We got out there and we're sitting out there on the Gulp metal bleachers, and all of a sudden lightning showed up, and they scrubbed our launch, and I had to get back to work. Fortunately, our kids were able to stick around for the eventual launch, but I had to miss the launch. How exciting for you guys. Now, I want to pull in for a second the moms, because this is such an amazing experience for you guys, but at your age, you might not fully appreciate how incredibly amazing this is. So, Elizabeth and Tina, I want to ask you guys, first of all, you've got to be so proud of your kids. Tell me about this experience. Were you guys surprised to hear about what your kids were doing? And what was this ride like?
Well, as somebody who's relatively new to iLead and SCVI, this was a really new experience for us. This was literally the very first project that Solomon did at SCVI, and when he was in fourth grade, that's when they did all of the science experiments. And so he was 9 years old when he started this. I think the most amazing thing, including the science itself, but is just the hands-on interdisciplinary aspect of it. You know, he had to write essays, he had to do math. Of course, there's the science, but then there's also the history of this type of work. So that's part of the reason we chose to come to this school, and the fact that he's been able to do one project for 18 months and follow it through, and the learning about following through has been invaluable to him.
That is fantastic. Tina, what about you? Was this something that kind of caught you unaware, or has Sam always been into this stuff?
The science aspect was newer for her. She's more of an artist. But we've had a little bit of an opposite experience because Sam mentioned that we've been part of iLead since she was in kindergarten.
Yeah.
So we've actually followed Dream Up from the several years before that, and we know kids who are on the coffee team. So we've been pretty close to it. So we kind of had an idea of what we were getting ourselves into, but to actually be one of the teams that was chosen was incredible, absolutely incredible. And just watching the kids, working with them, they had to do a ton of fundraising to help pay for all of the fees and dealing with helping NanoRacks out and Dream Up and keeping the program going. So there was a lot of fundraising that was involved, and the kids worked really, really hard on that. I'm so proud of them for so many aspects. You mentioned all the research and the education part of it, but the leadership, the being on campus and being role models for other kids at school, and just all the work they did with the fundraising, and now all this follow-up that they're doing, coming to the radio station. They're going to try to do some other community outreach. So it's
I do want to talk about some of the other things that they're going to be doing afterwards. Unfortunately, we do have to take a quick break, but I'm not done with you guys. Would you be willing to stick around for the next break? We'll continue our conversation when we come back. You're listening to SCVI Charter School's Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson, with some amazing scientists and their parents in studio on your hometown station, KHTS.
So much is going on at Dunkin' in March. You know their mouth-watering donuts and gourmet hot coffee, but there's so much more.
Get a medium, hot, or iced latte or cappuccino for just $2 during happy hours, 2 to 6 p.m. And now Dunkin' offers Grubhub service direct to your door, home or office.
Open early on Bouquet Canyon and on Sierra Highway in Canyon Country. Fast in and out, America runs on Dunkin'.
Drug and alcohol use can lead to troubles at school or work, relationship problems, financial or legal difficulties, medical and psychiatric issues. I'm Bob Sheritz, the host of the Way Out Recovery Hour, airing every Monday at noon. The Way Out Recovery Hour features prominent guests and organizations discussing the epidemic of drugs and alcohol in our valley. Don't miss the Way Out Recovery Hour every Monday at noon. Don't lose hope. There is a solution. Knowledge is power. There is the way out.
The minute I open my door, Debbie Morris has a problem. I say, oh my gosh, a really big problem. The dog, the cat, my 3-year-old. Debbie's house is a mess. How can one family create this disaster? Debbie needs meat for you. I need help. Professional residential and commercial cleaning, locally owned. You choose the schedule, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or even one-time seasonal cleaning. Call 255-2922. That's 255-2922. Made for you. Made for you. Rescued me.
At Advanced Audiology, we know how important hearing is to you, your loved ones, your work success, your safety, and your ability to stay in the game. Most people won't admit hearing loss to themselves or others. We make it easy for you. Today's digital hearing aids come in a variety of styles, including invisible. All feature-rich, providing unparalleled hearing quality, wearing comfort, and automation that simplifies your life. Don't be fooled by our imitators. There's only one Advanced Audiology with the purple sign, next to AAA on Valencia Boulevard.
Green Thumb International, your lawn and garden professionals, have the widest variety of shrubs, flowering plants, and garden supplies in the Santa Clarita Valley. Condition and fertilize your soil. Water does not easily penetrate clay soils and may pass too quickly beyond the root zone of plants in sandy soil. Adding organic matter to these soils will help correct imbalances and reduce water waste. On Newhall Avenue in Old Town Newhall near Sierra Highway, Green Thumb puts the green in your thumb.
Indulge yourself in the world of wine at the 8th Annual Sierra Pelona Valley AVA Wine Festival, Saturday, April 4th, from noon to 4 p.m., benefiting the Zonta Club of SCV. Get your Chardonnay on with live music, gourmet food, handmade crafts, and the best local wines, beers, spirits, and cider Santa Clarita has to offer at Reyes Winery. Dionysus dilettantes and wine connoisseurs alike will enjoy this festival. Sponsored by Reyes Winery, Pepsi, Anheuser-Busch, California Bank and Trust, and Mercedes-Benz of Valencia. Visit ReyesWinery.com for tickets. Must be 21 or over.
Your hometown station, KHTS.
Welcome back. You're listening to KHTS, your hometown station, 1220 on the AM dial and FM at 98.1. This is Matt Watson with SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. Just reminding our listeners of that breaking news that we had last break. Los Angeles Unified School District is announcing that effective Monday, they are closing their school campuses and rolling out their virtual learning plan. As we speak, the William S. Hart School District is meeting to make any decision that they need to make, and I know the other local elementary school districts are also monitoring the situation and working closely with Hart school officials so that as a community, as we always do, we can continue to communicate and collaborate and move forward as we make our decisions. For the local iLead charter schools, iLead Agua Dulce, SCVI, iLead Lancaster, iLead AV, and the other iLead network schools, we are also working closely with our local school districts and authorizers and local authorities to make any determination that needs to be made. We would like to continue forward as everybody would with business as usual, but in this time we need to make sure that all of our learners and our adults continue to stay healthy and strong. We don't want to put anybody's health at risk. And for that reason, out of the abundance of caution, this just in, if you are an SCVI family, and this applies to SCVI learners only, no word from iLead Agua Dulce or the other iLead schools yet, SCVI has canceled learner-led conferences this afternoon. We had our annual learner-led conferences scheduled for this afternoon, a really exciting event where families come in and our learners really get to show off to their families everything that they're doing. Not everybody's sending their experiments up to the International Space Station, but everyone is working on their own exciting and innovative projects that they were prepared to share with their families as they came in today. Unfortunately, that event, again, out of an abundance of caution and an effort to make sure that our learners and families stay healthy, SCVI is announcing the canceling of their learner-led conferences. Please continue to stay tuned to KHTS for more updates on the LA Unified School District and the local school districts and other community developments as they come out. I know a lot of local events have been canceled or postponed, so continue to stay tuned. We are in studio and we want to continue our conversation, this exciting conversation about Dream Up and the iLead Aerospace projects. We want to continue with Kathleen Fredette and Sam and Tina Diem, Solomon Press, Elizabeth Mesnick, and Kathleen Fredette, I already said. I wanted to continue. Before we took a break, we were talking to Elizabeth and Tina, the moms of these amazing scientists, and what a wild ride this has been for you all. So our school and all charter schools are schools of choice. You chose to send your kids there. Now, I'm going to go on a limb and guess that you weren't promised that your children were going to be blasting their homework up into space when you enrolled at SCVI and iLead schools. So can you tell us a little bit about, you touched on it a little bit before, Elizabeth, but I want to ask Tina as well, what made you decide to bring your kids, because I'm sure in Solomon's case you left the traditional public or wherever he was before. Now Tina, with your kids, I think they came from the very beginning. What made you guys decide for charter schools and SCVI and iLead in particular?
Just what I could see from my child as a toddler. I knew she was going to need something more or something different than what traditional school offers. She was very advanced as a very little person and very opinionated and just very passionate as even a very little toddler. So I just really wanted an environment where she was going to be able to have, we talk about voice and choice so much in iLead.
Right.
And for her to be given that packet of homework that traditional schools start the kids out with wasn't going to work for her. I wanted her to love school. And just feeding her packets was going to make her hate school. So so glad that we found SCVI and that we got lucky. It was right when the campus was expanding, so we were able to get in. They opened up a whole nother kindergarten class, so that's how she was able to get in from the beginning. And it's been exactly what we've needed for her to be able to choose what scientists she wants to study or what politicians she wants to research or which aspect of whatever project that the kids are working on. To have that choice has been everything for her education.
And then speaking of choice, a couple of years ago, you actually chose to leave SCVI and transfer to one of our newest iLead campuses, iLead Agua Dulce. What came into factor there? What made you choose to leave SCVI and go to iLead Agua Dulce?
A lot of it was just SCVI grew a lot really quickly.
Yeah.
And just having that opportunity to get back to having a smaller campus again just felt really good for us as a family. And with Lisa Latimer moving over there as well, and we'd worked with her as a director for a few years before that move, and it's been amazing. The campus has a different feel to it, and it's just smaller, and it's just working out great for both Sam and her younger sister. So.
Yeah, you talk about small learning communities. I know schools everywhere like to design those. We're talking about a school that's kindergarten through, transitional kindergarten through 7th grade, but still just a couple hundred learners, so it really is a small community. And Elizabeth, what about you? What made you decide to come to SCVI?
Well, you're right. Solomon was in traditional LAUSD schools, and it was funny, we were being overwhelmed with the homework, which didn't necessarily engage him in the way that he needs to be engaged. He is very much a kinesthetic and an auditory learner, And so the traditional school was just not working for him in the way that we wanted it to. The other thing is that you don't know this until your child is in school, but he likes to go slow and deep.
Okay.
And the fact that you can spend a longer period of time really delving deep into multiple aspects has been just invaluable to him, and his love of learning has really been developed at this type of program.
Fantastic. Well, I really appreciate you guys coming in today. I wish we had more time. Kathleen, I know we had planned to talk about all the other different aerospace projects that we had and things like that. Unfortunately, we don't have time, but promise me you will bring in another batch of scientists with you, and you'll come back soon. And like I said, we are out of time, but we do hope that Sam and Solomon, you guys and your groups will keep us posted. At least let us know when those blog results are up, and we can tune in, okay? Unfortunately, we are out of time. I do want to thank all of my guests today. Kathleen and Sam, Solomon, Elizabeth, Tina, thank you so much for joining us. Do want to remind our listeners that today is, like I said, National Good Samaritan Day. So I want to issue a challenge this weekend. 3 things, and go deep on this. Do something for yourself. Yes, you deserve it. But also do something for a loved one. Let them know that you love them. And if you are a true Good Samaritan, come on, I know you are, get out there and do something for a complete stranger. Got it? Do something big. Make somebody's life different today. Make a few people's lives different today. Make this day what you will, okay? Make the world a better place, and then follow Samantha and Solomon and go make other worlds a better place as well. The power is in you. Thank you for joining us. If you're interested in SCVI and you'd like to give us a call, dial 661-705-4820. We will see you next time. You're listening to SCVI Charter Schools Eye on the Valley. I'm your host, Matt Watson. You're listening to your hometown station, KHTS. Wash your hands, everybody.